Hi, my name is Sandee Rains. Have you ever thought about starting up a spending plan for yourself or your family? Or maybe it's just the thought of starting one that kind of intimidates you? Well, if you want to stay on top of your finances, then you need to have a good budget, and it will help you keep on track with your financial goals. So let's talk about what are some impacts that a budget can have for you. What are wants versus needs? Fixed, periodic, and variable expenses. You need to have goals that you're setting for yourself. Know what your income is, your net income on a monthly basis. Create and take the time for a budget planning exercise. Revisit and revise your tracking for your budget. And then we always need to move forward to make things better and take a closer look at how we're spending our money. Regardless of a person's income level, a budget can impact every aspect of their life. And you know, the old adage of the more money you have, the more you spend, well, that holds true without budgeting in place because that helps you control your finances, monitor your expenses, and work towards goals that you're setting for yourself. The ability to find, obtain, and sustain affordable housing, that's a universal need. And everyone needs a roof over their head, regardless whether it's a rental or whether you're living with a roommate or whether you're wanting to purchase a home. Your budget can impact your ability to qualify for rental housing and home purchasing and extends to how much you have to pay for deposits. How can your budget have that much power over you? You want to control your money, not let your money control you. So if your budget is in distress, it can result in late or missed payments on your credit obligations and your utilities. And these then are reported as lates to your credit report, as far as to the credit bureaus where they would accept the information reported on you. And when we have negative information reported on us, then that lowers our credit score, which serves as an indicator to anyone looking at our credit score that we are not paying in a satisfactory manner. Struggling with our finances can spill over into work and personal relationships as well. And those stresses are associated with basically maintaining our expenses, our living expenses, and that it can create feelings of frustration, failure, a loss of hope, and working towards the goals we have, as well as maybe bringing up family arguments and disagreements. Increased stress can result in depression and anger, which in turn can cause physical illness brought on by a reduced immune system. And mental health issues can stem from depression and a lack of confidence in what we're doing. Budgeting or having a good spending plan, it can be used to manage your finances. It can help you avoid getting into a debt trap, and it allows you to build towards the goals you're setting for yourself. This in turn increases those feelings of self-worth. Budgeting can assist you in identifying what is actually important to you, and it allows you to concentrate on your work, reduce your family discord, and allow you to find and retain affordable housing, all of which can translate into an enhanced overall quality of life. And that's what we're wanting to do. We're wanting to have a quality of life while maintaining a good spending plan. So housing considerations, they're the number one priority when we're looking at our budget. And when including rent cost in our budget, a real simple rule of thumb is 30% of your monthly income. That's a good place to start. However, that can be adjusted up or down in relation to what your particular income is on a monthly basis because you're dealing with net income. For example, let's suppose you bring home $15 a month. Then you should aim for no more than $450 for rent on a monthly basis. Now, if that rent includes all your utilities, then that amount would be possibly projected a little bit higher because you have less expenses there when there's something inclusive in that rent. But when you're looking at how much rent you can afford, it's not just about the actual rent payment. It also includes upfront cost, which would be a security deposit, maybe first and last, your application fee, maybe a pet deposit, utility deposit, and then what are those recurring costs for you? Utilities, renter's insurance if you would like to purchase that, and then maybe you have to pay for parking where you live. When you're considering a home mortgage, not only are there upfront costs of the down payment and closing costs, but how much house can you actually afford? And that's going to be dependent on the type of loan that you would qualify for and the interest rate that you would qualify for. The lower your interest rate, then of course the lower the payment. Now, there are other considerations that should be included. The mortgage payment itself. Your mortgage payment includes real estate taxes, your homeowner's insurance, and it's called PITI. P for principal, I for interest, T for your county taxes, and I for your homeowner's insurance. Now, you also have to consider what that ongoing maintenance cost is going to be, like your appliances, your heating, your cooling, maintenance and upkeep of your yard. Those kind of things are now your responsibility. Is the home in a community that has a homeowners association? And if so, is there a monthly fee for that or is it an annual fee? All of these things need to be considered when you're looking to buy a home. And then again, you're not the landlord, you're the actual owner. So any repairs that need to be done, they are going to be your responsibility. Now, your budget extends way beyond the housing costs. It actually identifies how you spend your money, what you have coming in, and what you have going out. Now, without it, it's like navigating your finances like you would navigate your car without a GPS. You have no idea where you are or where you're headed, or what kind of a financial picture do you really have of your finances. A budget is unique to each individual, and it's based on what you actually feel is important. Your priorities, and we set those on a daily basis pretty much. You want to know what the person is actually wanting to prioritize, and that's you and your family. So you need to sit back and you need to actually think about how much money do I have coming in net on a monthly basis from any income as far as job, whether it's part-time, full-time, whether you have a side job, you own a business. So where is the money coming from? And what are your expenses? You have to think about what's important to you. If you were going to create your own budget, then you have to look at what you spend your money on. Because when you take a real hard look at it, maybe you're spending some money in some categories that I would consider weaknesses. Maybe you eat out too much. I know that was a big problem with me because I'm a single person. Maybe you go out too much on the weekend for entertainment. You're always going to movies, you're going to concerts. What are you spending your money on? And no one's saying you can't enjoy life, but there is a difference between living above your means and living within your means and how much money you have coming in. If you are going to start creating your budget, you need to know all the different expenses that you have because each individual person or family is different. You also have to set goals for yourself. You need to know the difference between your wants and your needs. And then what are those three various different expenses that we come across? So budgeting includes setting your goals and your priorities. Where do you want to be? What do you want to achieve? And do you want to find rental housing in a specific neighborhood, buy a home within a certain amount of time, or maybe build a healthy savings account? When you set goals for yourself, it gives you something to work towards, and that establishes benchmarks for you to strive to meet and to work towards a manageable budget. And I like to give ownership to maybe you might not say budget, you might say your spending plan or your financial plan, whatever is good for you. Some people think the word budget is intimidating, so that is up to each individual because we're all different in how we do things in our thought process. So you want to have a manageable budget or spending plan that's good for you, that's not intimidating. Visualize your goals, write them down. Set a date you wish to obtain them. If you're setting goals for yourself, there are three components that you need to have. The first one is, what is your specific goal? The second is, how much money do you need to meet that goal? And third is, when am I going to complete the goal? What is that time frame? So periodically, as you're trying to accomplish your goals, review your progress and cross-check it with your goals. See where you are in the process of building your financial situation. Knowing the difference between wants and need, that's a real large piece of that budget puzzle. How many times have you thought you just had to have something, but if you did not get it, your well-being would not be adversely impacted? Well, we all want things, but we all have needs as well that we're taking care of. So you just have to have that pair of new sneakers, and that $25 pair of sneakers could be just as good money-wise served for buying the sneakers than going out and spending $150. Think about where you would be and saving the money. Needs are things you have to sustain you, like food, shelter, clothing, transportation, many things. I always include medication. A lot of people need medication every day. Wants can almost be anything else. It's your entertainment, electronics, your cable, your clothing, all kinds of things. Now, when it comes to those different expenses, you have to understand that the fixed, periodic, and variable or slash discretionary expenses, that's one of the steps that you would take in creating your budget. So what are those fixed expenses? Well, these are the payments you have little control over because they're legal obligations that you signed up for. You have to pay this every month. It could be the mortgage, the rent, the car payment, those kind of things. They're due the same time every month, and it's the same amount due every month. They could also include secured loans, student loans, those kind of things. Now, when we have other expenses that are periodically, then they are typically monthly, but it could vary in a dollar amount. You know how much that expense would be, but then when is it due each month or when is it due every quarter? Your periodic expenses, they're like fixed expenses, but you have little control over these expenses. So rather than being due on the same date each month, that periodic expense, those are expenses that come perhaps quarterly or semi-annually. And the amount of the bill might always be the same, but it can be overlooked because it's only paid periodically. So if we have a good calendar with our expenses to be paid when they're due for something that's not monthly, it helps keep us on track. When it comes to those variable expenses, you want to take a look at what would that possibly be. Could it be memberships that you pay on a monthly basis? Could it be car maintenance? Could it be something that like back to school and you're having to spend more money when it's time for the kids to go back to school? There's so many things that could be under variable. Your gasoline, that's a variable expense. Your groceries, those are variable expenses. So you need to take a good look at what that would be. Gasoline, eating out, entertainment. So when you take a look at all of your expenses together, you're wanting to put together the best spending plan, the best budget that would work for you. Now, let's just do a quick recap. The needs are the things that you have to have for survival that you cannot do without. Wants are things that you would like to have, but they're not necessary, but they're just giving you pleasure and satisfaction when you can buy them. So it's really all relative. You just decide what's most important for you as you go through the process. Now, knowing your income, what could be withheld and deducted from your gross income, and how often do you receive your income? This allows you to be more aware of what you have at your disposal when working with your budget. So some people might get paid once a month, twice a month, bi-weekly. They could get paid commissions quarterly. So it just depends on what kind of job you have and how often you get paid. Income can come from a variety of sources. It could be hourly, some kind of salary pay, bonuses, tips, commissions, side work. Maybe someone's getting a disability check, they're getting retirement. Also, maybe alimony, child support, Social Security. It could be a combination. But gross income is the amount you receive before any deductions or withholding. And your net income is what is left after deductions and withholdings. So your deductions may be adjusted by you and may help increase your income stream if you find yourself in a crisis situation. Now that you know about the different types of expenses and what the difference is between gross and net income, you need to start looking at how you would set up and create your own unique budget. There could be two situations involving someone. One could be we're in a crisis mode, and the other one is there is no crisis. I just need to have a good, clear picture of my financial situation. So, what is a crisis budget? Well, that's one that you would use under extreme circumstances, like if you lost your job, if you are delinquent with your mortgage payment, maybe you're having medical issues right now. And when you look at that crisis spending plan, you might have no alternative but to make difficult decisions and changes to your normal standard of living. However, once you begin tracking your expenses, then you may wish to make some of these changes even when you're not in a crisis situation. One area, though, for you to examine, is there a way for you to increase your cash flow? Is there something that you could be doing to bring more money in? So when we look at the categories and how we spend our money, if we have weaknesses, then what can we do to save more money or not spend as much on a monthly basis? And I always refer to eating out. because that one, on an average for an individual, that is the one weakness that we all have on an average, someone would have. That was one of my weaknesses when I was putting a spending plan together. I found that because I'm a single person, I found that I went out and I would, have a meal with a friend, or I would pick up something to go and bring it home. So it really depends on, the area in which you struggle with. And you may not have any areas of weaknesses at all, but we still need to look to see how much better could I make my spending plan? How much more money could I save if I just tweaked my spending plan a little bit better? The first step is see where you are right now. You need to track your expenses. Where am I today? I'm ready to go. How many of us know where every dime we spend goes? Do you? Most people do not. A very few do. So how about the coffee you pick up at Starbucks or your favorite coffee place in the morning? How about that loaf of bread that you pick up on the way home from work? The money you give your kids for the school field trips. These are the types of expenses we tend to overlook when we're tracking our spending. But you have to remember, every penny that you spend is part of your spending plan. And the way to start on the road to a financial stability is for you to determine where you are right now. Write down what you think you're spending currently. You can use a chart, okay? You could use an Excel spreadsheet, use a pen and paper, whatever makes you comfortable in trying to set something up, because you can always tweak it down the road, just trying to get you started. So your bottom line is what you have left over once you subtract all of your expenses from your available net income. And what adjustments, what do you need to make in order to reach the goals that you're setting for yourself? So it's your total net income minus your total monthly expenses. That's your bottom line. That's how much you have left over. Whether it's to pay down debt faster, put in savings account, do both, how would you handle the extra money you have left over? Now you're to the point where you really want to get down to business. And you've written down where you think you are. You set goals for yourself, and you've identified what your net income is on a monthly basis. So you have to take a look at how you've been spending your money. This may seem extreme to someone, but it's one of the most important steps in establishing your long-term spending plan. Some people even call it a rude awakening because it brings to light how much they're actually spending on items that they never thought of before. Maybe they weren't even thinking of anything of it. Maybe you go to the hospital, you see a friend that had a new baby. You go to the vending machines, you go to the cafeteria. You may not think about that as spending expenses that you're spending money on, but it really is, because any money that we spend away from the house and we're purchasing something is an expense. Whether you pay cash, whether you put it on a credit card, whether you use a debit card, it's still money that you're spending. So when we say it's a rude awakening, it is for a lot of people. So what is this important step? Keep track of your spending. You need to do that for at least 30 days. And the key to tracking your expenses is you have to be honest with yourself. And if you're married or you have a partner, you both need to keep track of your spending. You need to agree beforehand that neither of you will be angry with the other for what they perceive as overspending. Remember, everyone has different priorities and they have different spending habits. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to move forward. And this is going to be a tool that you both can use to accomplish what your common goals are. Keep a small notebook and a pen or pencil with you at all times. Write down everything you spend money on. And I mean everything, because if you're spending it, then it's your money that you're spending. It doesn't matter how small it may seem. It can mean the dollar you put in the vending machine that I just spoke about at work or at the hospital, or it could be the money that you gave your child for a school trip, quick trip to the grocery store, whatever it is, write it down. Keep your receipts. Maybe do it at the end of the night. But be sure to put how much it was, where you spent it, and for what it was for. Remember, this is one of the tools that you can create and have for yourself to make your spending plan better. And part of the prep work needs to include some attention towards those unexpected expenses and the reoccurring maintenance costs we talked about. You're going to want to set aside some time to just jot down those expenses that come periodically and how you would account for them in your spending plan. So, one of the other things that you need to do is you need to pay yourself. Have you heard the term pay yourself first? Well, that is money that you put away in a reserve fund, in a savings account. We should actually be saving 10% out of each paycheck, whether you have a 401k or anything else that you're doing at work where there are deductions, but 10% out of your net paycheck. Put that into a savings account. That is paying yourself first. And this could be a tool to help you reach some of your goals, whether they're short, midterm, or long term. But that reserve fund can help you with things like new tires, car insurance, car maintenance, unexpected medical expenses. Having the money set aside is going to allow you to become more financially secure. Having the money set aside will allow you to become more financially secure and less dependent on your credit cards. If you don't have a reserve, then your entire spending plan can suffer a setback when the unexpected actually happens. Now that you have an idea of what you're actually spending and you put a plan together, you're ready to take the final step in creating that budget to help you reach your goals, such as finding, obtaining, and maintaining affordable housing or your basic living expenses, and look to increase your overall path to financial well-being. The next step is going to allow you to look at areas that you can control and change and set priorities for. And once you've looked and tallied everything up, you can see where you might want to make changes. Where do you have weaknesses? Again, is it eating out? Do you like to go shopping? Do you like to buy clothes? Do you like to buy home decor? What are the weaknesses if you have any? Do you want to continue spending like this and feel a lot of financial stress month after month? Do you want to have a better picture, a clearer financial picture of what you're spending and what you can save, and plan on curtailing your debt, paying it off maybe faster? Set yourself some small goals. If you're spending $400 a month eating out, try to reduce it. Now, you're not going to say reduce it to zero because that's not real. You have to make sure you're setting yourself up with a real amount that will be realistic for you to set and realistic for you to stay within. Making sure that when you go out to eat, it's a real treat for you. And maybe you want to do it only on paydays, but consider your options and what would work for you. Consider contacting your utility departments to see about their budget plans. They'll take a year-round average for payment, so instead of your bill going up and down, it's going to remain the same and be easier to budget. Determine what your needs and wants are. Do you have to have every premium channel for cable and pay $175 a month? Or can you reduce it to basic and cut your bill back to $100? Have you compared your car insurance costs lately for yourself? You know, have you checked with various insurance carriers? The final step in that initial process is to go back to your spending plan and indicate a revision that you would want to make. But be sure to be realistic and don't be too strict on yourself in the beginning. You cannot go from spending $300 a month eating out to zero. It's just not going to happen. And you don't want to set yourself up for failure. So adjusting to a new spending plan is like going on a diet. If you are so strict that you allow yourself nothing that you like, then the likelihood of not meeting your goal actually increases. And then you're not going to be happy. And then you may forget the budget process altogether. You need to also account for that reserve fund. Pay yourself first that we talked about. I don't care if it's $5 a week. Put something in there. Maybe something happened this month and I can't put $10 in my, or 10%. Maybe something happened this month and I can't put 10% of my net paycheck in my savings account. I had unexpected medical bills or prescriptions or car maintenance. Put something. $5, save loose change in a bottle, in a jar. Do something, but save something when you can, no matter how minimum it might be. You want to keep the progress going. So we've actually reviewed quite a bit about starting your budget process. So a few final thoughts would be set aside a specific time each week or every 2 weeks to pay your bills. Update and review your budget plan and check what your progress is. Remember, if you're married or you have a partner, then that person needs to also adapt to the process as you are seeing fit and discussing with each other how this can happen. Set a date. Make it a set time and place for you to discuss your budget. Choose somewhere quiet, like turn off the phone and the television. Eliminate distractions. And the first time you sit down, it might take a while for you to feel comfortable about it, but just doing it will enhance a clear financial picture for you and put together a better spending plan. The tools that you need, they will help you move and change into a better financial situation. You are going to establish techniques and use tools, maybe other than your computer, your checkbook, or a calculator. But doing something is better than not starting it at all. Don't be intimidated. Just try to do something that will enhance your financial picture. Have a filing system to keep your incoming bills and financial statements together. Consider scanning documents to an electronic file. Shred paper copies of things you don't need. Remember, you have to include categories like your reserve fund, that's your savings account, so that your plan does not run into problems when the unexpected happens. Because we don't have a crystal ball. So we don't know what's going to happen hour to hour, day to day. So all we can do is do our best to plan accordingly. Make sure you continue to track your expenses so that you can become more aware of your habits, spending habits, that is. And periodically look at your goals. Do you need to make adjustments to reach them? How are you doing with the progress of reaching those goals? You are taking control of your finances and becoming more financially secure with each step that you take. And each area of your budget can impact your ability to maintain secure, affordable housing for you and your family.